All right, let's welcome back to hour two here, gang. Let's jump into the passing statistics now across the league. We're going yards per pass attempt. You've got Baltimore number one at 9.2, San Francisco number two at 8.8, Detroit number three at 8.6, number four is Philadelphia at 8.3, along with Minnesota at 8.3, Washington 8.2, Atlanta, Green Bay, and the LA Chargers are all tied for the number seven spot at 7.9 yards per pass attempt. So you're seeing a legit top 10 passing attack. You're seeing a legit top five running attack. And obviously the Packers here looking to climb up even further here. I would much rather see the yards per attempt go up on rushing. And this drop, that tells me we're playing from ahead and we're leaning on the run. And that's really what's going to help with some of these picks. But again, we look at Jordan Love and how he's played. Obviously, the turnovers are a huge issue, but they are still putting up some big plays in yards per attempt, yards per pass attempt here on offense. So,
oh yeah, for sure. And if you look at a lot of those picks, they're not always on the deep shots. A lot of them are just poor decisions under duress, And I think the more Jordan learns to deal with the pressure, he's going to be a lot better at protecting the football.
Yeah, and
like you said, it's a situational thing. You got to know down and distance situation. You're programmed as a quarterback. Don't take the sack. Don't take the sack. Well, you look at the tape. Sometimes you just need to tuck that ball and take the damn sack and live to fight another down.
Got to. If C.J. Stroud had done that last night, you'd have probably picked up at least 40 yards of invisible yardage on those two picks. You win that ball game easy.
For sure.
Even if everything else goes wrong the way it did, if you just control those two aspects of your game. Right. Or in some cases, I think the pick might have happened on the other side of the field. It'll probably resulted in the field goal that you needed to win the ball game too. But so comparatively speaking, passing yards per attempt or yards per pass attempt, I should say 7.9 compared to last year, 7.4. So I know people look at Jordan like, hey, he's having a much worse year than he did last year. Turnover wise, yes. But as far as production and yards per pass attempt, Green Bay's actually improved by 0.5 of a yard. On a per pass attempt basis. Now, let's kind of take a quick look here. How has he done away? How the Packers done? They're third in the league in yards per pass attempt on the road at 8. And at home, the Chicago Bears are right down there towards the bottom, where they 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away from the bottom at 6.1. Is that right? No. I'm sorry. What's the number? Yeah, 6.1 yards per pass attempt. They're pretty much the same at home as they are on the road.
That's terrible.
Another statistic that kind of points toward Green Bay Packers potentially having a solid passing game down there in Chicago. Again, though, Chicago, much tougher defense. They might be the best defense we've played so far this year, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would think so. Between them and Detroit, probably would probably be two of the tougher ones. And that run game is going to come into play. We've got to be able to do it on the ground, open up the pass game against that Bears defense.
Yeah, definitely. And let's see here. Jake G126 in the chat says Jordan's still only 1.5 years into being the starter. I think the future is bright. It's a great point. Listen, I understand both sides of the argument. I understand what you're saying, Jake, and I think it's a valid point. Like, look, he's only started for 1.5 years. I got you. But I also understand the other side. Like, hey, he's been in the league for 5, right? Yep. Like, yeah, I think they're both important pieces of information to go into the pot of how well or not so good has Jordan Love played at times, right? So I'm with you, man. We're going to find out the second half of it. I think by the end of this season, Tim, we'll know what we have in Jordan. We're either going to go, yep, he's the guy, or we're going to be going, oh, man, we might need to keep looking, and he's the starter for now. I think it's going to be the aforementioned he's the guy. I really do. I think, again, when I look at the mistakes he's made, you can fix those. You look at other guys like Caleb Williams holding the ball too long. It's still early in his career, but it's like if he's never going to get out of that, and you've seen it in college, him wanting to run around like a chicken with its head cut off and all that good stuff. If he didn't get it out of his system in college, he hasn't gotten out of the system in the pros, Yeah. But I think we will definitely know who Jordan Love is by the end of this year. I really do.
I agree. And I think this is also kind of, let's be honest, man, he got banged up. He got banged up in week 1. And that's a first for him in his career, getting hurt like that early in the season, having to miss games. kind of tough for Jordan to get momentum going when you look at some of these installs going into these games. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Malik having to come in a game and finish a game. Hopefully down the stretch here, Jordan gets his legs back under him, gets his confidence back, and I believe he's capable of making the right decision back there. And, we talk about our O-line too, man. We're great at pass pro. Well, then why is he getting hit back there? Why is he panicking and getting pressure? Let's reduce that pressure rate and help our QB1 out there, and obviously avoid some of these foolish penalties too, which kills our drives constantly. I don't know how many times we've seen a third down conversion from this Packers offense called back due to penalties. So, it's a team game. So we gotta help our QB1 be the best he can out there. And I fully think he's going to turn it around. But I think that's a great point, Clayton. Like after this season, we're going to know unequivocally, what that answer is. I'm still in the camp of Jordan is the guy. Jay Money only wears number 10 because he throws dimes. I think we're going to see that guy again real soon.
Coach Lynn says he's the guy. AFM in the chat says, yeah, I agree, Clayton, but I don't know if he's the guy, but I'd love him to be the guy. It's kind of where I'm at. Like if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say I'm 75% sure that Jordan's the guy, maybe 80%, right? Again, come see me at the end of the season. I'll feel really confident. Hey, look, we know what we got here, right? Daryl in the chat, Jordan Love has to perfect his timing and footwork, but it takes time. That's a good point. AFAM in the chat says Mahomes did some of this early in his career, throwing really dumb picks. Jordan doesn't have the overall arm talent, accuracy, and being specific to overcome, so he really needs to work on this. I think that's a valid point. Mahomes at one point, I remember them talking about him not being an accurate quarterback coming out of college. He's just got crazy elite arm talent. People were comparing him to Brett Favre. I remember hearing that a lot. They were comparing him to Aaron Rodgers. And then obviously the comp for Jordan Love coming out of college was actually Mahomes. So I'm with you, A-Fam. You got to fix the accuracy. If he does, I mean, the sky's the limit, no doubt. That and the decision-making, for sure. Let's see. Randy Cleavers, Jordan needs to stop pressing and just play ball. Completely agree with that. It kind of feels like he tries to do too much. Just listen, like Tom Brady was saying on the telecast the other day, like you got to know the situation. You got to know the situation. Second and short, I don't have to try to chuck this up into a crowd of people. Live to play another down, right? You've seen it last year too, Tim, with Pittsburgh at the Pittsburgh game. It was like second down on the final drive, and he tried to force it in for the touchdown right off the bat. And it's like, bro,
how our season ended in San Francisco last year.
Yeah, there you go.
On a first down.
Yep. You got to know. You're seeing a trend. You've seen it in Pittsburgh. You've seen it in San Fran. You've seen it last week. You got to know the situation. Situational football. And maybe it's something that LaFleur isn't hammering as hard as someone like a Bill Belichick would. That could be the case. But nonetheless, it does fall on the quarterback show.
That Uncle Rico factor, I throw a football over them mountains over there kind of mentality.
Anytime anybody mentions Uncle Rico, and I know I've said it 1,000 times on this show, I can hear that steak hitting that dude in the face. I'm just telling you right now, it's the best, absolute best. I Rock in the chat says, J Love going to get it together. I hope so. I think so too. I really do. Daryl in the chat, Jordan Love can throw the ball. It's just his timing that needs to be more accurate, so he don't throw any INTs in the game. The big thing for me too last year, especially with the swing passes, he was so late getting the swing will be wide open.
And he's looking –
yeah. It's a simple high-low read. Like when you come out in high-low reads, you're going to have a different high-low read here, different high-low read there. When you come out and your running backs, let's say sidecar right, and you see the split safety look or you see the single high and okay, I'm going to work this side of the field high to low or low to high. Ball snap, you don't have that. You got to cut. By the time your eyes lock on to the T side, the running back side, you got to know ball needs to go to the running back. Ball needs to go to the running back. It's not a wait, is he open? No, let's wait. Okay, now let's go to the running back and they get blown up.
I would rather you potentially miss a guy open further down the field and get that ball out quick and efficiently than to be late seeing that receiver and then drop a ball in a double or triple coverage like we've seen before. I agree totally.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's move it along here. So we've covered pretty much everything on offense. Actually, let's look at. I want to look at the turnovers real quick, the giveaways, interceptions thrown per game. Let's see where we rank there, and it's going to be bad. Don't get me wrong, guys. If we go worst first here, wow, looky here, wow. Well, it's pretty close, 1/10 of a point. Tennessee, Indianapolis, and Carolina are all in the lead at 1.2 interceptions thrown per game. And then it's Minnesota, Dallas, Las Vegas, Green Bay, and Seattle are all tied for tied for fourth at 1.1 interceptions thrown per game. Right behind them, Detroit and Kansas City. So as weird as this sounds, outside of Tennessee, Indianapolis, and Carolina, you're in pretty good company there. I mean, you got teams that Sam Darnold was playing really good football this year, right?
Yep.
Dallas just gave franchise quarterback money to Dak, and he played the majority of the snaps this year. Vegas bad quarterback, but Seattle, Geno Smith was in the running for the MVP last year. Jared Goff was in the running for the MVP before he crapped his pants last night, just like his fellow defensive player did, literally in the game. Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, obviously he's going to – it's funny, we were just sitting here drawing a comparison with like Jordan Love was comped to Patrick Mahomes coming out of college, and here they are just 1/10 of a point away from having the same statistic here as far as interceptions thrown per game. So I think it's important to hit that. Now, as far as total giveaways per game, I think fumbles we've done pretty good. Let's check fumbles out. It feels like we've protected that, pretty well here. They're tied for 8th. The Packers are at. They're averaging 1 fumble per game.
I don't like that. Me no like that, Jan.
But it's 8th best in the league, is what I'm trying to say. So
let's average no fumbles per game.
I wish that was a thing. I'd be on board. Kansas City's done it pretty well, only 0.6 fumbles per game. Then you got the Rams, Detroit Lions, and the Houston Texans, along with Buffalo and New Orleans, all at 0.8. Chicago at 0.9. So Chicago's protected the football pretty damn well, man. And then, of course, like I said, Green Bay tied for the number 8 spot there at averaging a fumble again. You'd like to see that get under that, finish the year at like 0.7 or something.
Exactly. Kansas City being number 1 doesn't surprise me. They got the that factor. So,
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Special teams defense. I have never touched this here. Special teams defense. Let's see if there's a statistic that we can pick out here and say, okay, here's a good indication on whether our special teams are good or not. This could be tough. I would like to see like yards per return, something like that. It's going to be kind of hard to pick this out here. Touchback percentage inside. Is there anything like inside the 5? Yeah, there's nothing really. I'll need to dig in. Let's see, punt attempts. Yeah, we'll dig into that later. Now's not the time to do that live on the air, but I'd like to find a couple of key statistics because you hear people say fire beside you, and the next thing you know, you don't hear about it forever. It's like I'd like to come up with a little metric, a little system, something that we can dive into that on down the road. Let's move on to defense, Tim. Scoring defense, opponent points per play. All right, so scoring defense. The Chargers are first in the league at .222. Next is Pittsburgh at number 2, Denver at 3, Minnesota 4, Detroit 5. Chicago is the 6th best scoring defense in the league on a points per play basis. Then you got Philadelphia at 7, Buffalo 8, Kansas City 9, Colts are 10th, the Jets are 11th, the Cardinals are 12th, New England is 13th, and the Green Bay Packers are currently sitting in the number 14 spot as far as points per play allowed at .357. So they are pretty much middle of the pack when it comes to scoring defense this year. If you compared that to 2023 under Joe Barry, it's worse. Joe Barry, .334 was his points per play for the entire year. So keep in mind, we could improve that number as we go along. But 14th in the league in 2023, the Packers finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're only 2 spots worse compared to 2023. Again, you guys know this is the most important defensive statistic for me is points per play. People go, well, what if you're dealing with a short field? If your offense sucks and returning the ball, I don't care. That's to me even more of a measuring stick on your defense to go, we need to stop right here. We need it right now, or we need a takeaway. So I don't really use that as an excuse. But, Tim, does this surprise you here? 14th in the league scoring points per play.
A little. And I'd like to see that improve. I'm with you, Clay. And I think the discrepancy between this year and last year, Joe Barry versus Hafley, seeing them take a little bit of a step back. I'm not panicking. And again, I know it's not the most important stat, looking at defense, but I will gladly take that little trade-off because the turnovers
Mm-hmm.
and the takeaways have I don't even know how much, if we could break down the percentage that we've increased in that category. But I'm okay if we took a little bit a dip in the points per play aspect if we're getting those takeaways. Because to your point, I get that feeling when I watch this team. You'll see them getting marched down the field, and you're like, oh gosh, what's going on here? What are we doing? What are we doing? It's like, come on, let's get a takeaway, and then boom, we get a takeaway, and it happens. We'll get a pick, we'll get a tip ball at the line, we'll get a strip sack. That's kind of the trade-off when you've got a defense that is quote unquote a little more aggressive. And when I say aggressive, I don't mean blitzing all the time. I just mean in the sense that, they're playing that ball. They're ball hawking, and we didn't see that last year. So I'll take a little bit of a backslide in the points per play category. That's just me though.
Yeah. If you were to tell me, hey, you can go from bottom third in takeaways to top 5, and you're going to drop 2 spots in scoring, I'm okay with that. That's a huge net gain in my opinion. So I'm with you on that. And we'll get to that here in a second too. I did want to point out that over the last 3 games, it's increased significantly at 0.432. So they're in a little bit of a slump as far as points per game, points per play goes as it sits right now.
Perfect timing to go down to Chicago and see Caleb Williams.
At home this year, the Packers are probably a little bit better, I believe, at 0.351. On the road, they're a little worse. So on the road defense, they're really about the same spot. So nothing too much to take into consideration there. Chicago has at home the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th best scoring defense. And that increases significantly when they're on the road. That's interesting. So they drop down to probably the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably about the 13 spot, something like that. So interesting. All right, there is your opponent points per play. Now let's talk about rushing defense. And we're going to go opponent yards per rush attempt. So this is on a per carry basis, 2024. The Packers are going to come in the number 7 spot, actually top for number 6. So this increased from last year. Your run defense definitely got better. Baltimore 1 at 3.4, Kansas City 2, Minnesota 3, Pittsburgh 4, Denver 5, Cincinnati 6, and the Green Bay Packers tied for that 6th spot at 4.2 yards per carry allowed. Over the last 3 games, it's actually dropped to 4.1, so gotten a little bit better. That last game, they did somewhat shut the Detroit Lions running game down. Unfortunately, we kept making mistakes on offense, and you had that one blown coverage there in the secondary that was the explosive play for the Lions. I think it was Amon-Ra St. Brown that might have got loose. But on the road, when it comes to rushing yards, they're giving up 4 yards a carry, and at home they're giving up 4.4 yards per carry. So the run defense is a little worse on average at home this year. Now, compared to last year, we were giving up 4.5 yards per rush attempt. This year, it's dropped to 4.3. So definitely an improvement there as far as run defense goes.
That's definitely that switch over to the 43, I think.
And everybody complaining about the pressures, Tim, but this is the byproduct here.
That's exactly what it is. You're right. And pressures, man, I don't know, man. That you talk about situational football. There are times and situations where you want to pressure that quarterback, and you are going to send 5. You are going to send maybe 6. Hell, we've seen teams send 7. But that's not every down. That's not consistently. I'd rather have a defense that's not giving up, 15 and 20-yard chunk runs all day. And we've definitely seen a lot less of that going over to this 4-3 system. So, and then, combined with the fact that, let's be honest, we're executing a little bit better this year when it comes to our defensive play. We've gotten better at middle linebacker. We've got guys that are playing aggressive and, getting into those run fits and, getting in there and blowing up plays. We've got guys in the secondary that can play in the box. I think about Javon Bullard. I think about Evan Williams, Xavier McKinney. Those are all 3 of those guys that were not Packers last year. That was an element of the defense that we did not have on the field. And it's showing up here in these rush attempts for sure.
Yep, definitely. Let's go on to passing defense. And this is opponent yards per pass attempt for 2024 for the season as a whole. The Packers are sitting in the number 18 spot at 6.6. It's actually slightly better than last year at 6.7. So the opponent pass yards per pass attempt has gotten slightly better for the Packers. That's really interesting there. That's exciting. Again, I think it's important to look at that on a per play basis, so per attempt basis. Again, 18th, not great, but you couple in the turnovers, and that's what we're going to get to here next. That's really what makes the difference. When we get into giveaways and takeaways per game, let's go takeaways per game. The Packers are currently second in the league behind only Minnesota. Minnesota has 2.2 takeaways per game. Green Bay has 2.1. This has been the big improvement for this defense. It's the most important statistic in all of football. Last night we talked about it. The fact that Jared Goff turned the ball over 5 times and ended up winning the game. I think it's the first team to do that since 1970, Tim, if I remember correctly, which is just crazy to think about. It's not everything, but in my opinion, it is the most important statistic behind points and points allowed, period, case closed. So got to love how they are performing here. So
absolutely. And that element of the game can tilt a ball game at any moment, especially in a close game, man. You get that turnover, everything can change. I mean, we've won a couple ball games that way this year ourselves. And, it's kind of uncanny thinking of how many turnovers the Lions had last night for them to hang around in that game. I mean, especially after, they got a tutter. They went for 2. They didn't get the 2 points. It was still a 10-point game. I mean, there were no reasons why the Lions should have won that game other than hanging around and making one less mistake than the Texans did and walking off on a field goal. So, takeaways will tilt the game, but you gotta step on their neck and finish them. And you saw that last night. Houston just didn't do it. When you look at the Packers, man, I think we've got that, no pun intended, we have that X factor. We have that guy that, is back there at any moment. And you put your opponent in a bad situation, like you said, Clayton, where you got them playing from behind and they've got to play that deep pass game, or they got to try and get, shot plays. That runs right into the teeth of our secondary, which is exactly what we want. Teams throwing that ball at Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney, we'll take it all day. And I love it. I'm all about the takeaways, man. I'm a defensive football fan. I love it. And it's just nice to see that back in Green Bay. It's been quite a while since we've had that ball hawking secondary, and it's awesome to see.
For whatever reason, too, Green Bay takes the ball away better on the road at 2.5 yards per clip. Now, they're still second in the league in that statistic behind Minnesota. It's really interesting. They're so similar. 1.8 at home, 2.6 and 2.5 on the road. I want to look at this real quick. Let's go to the giveaways, and I want to see what Chicago does at home this year as far as giveaways. How bad are they at that? Actually, they're the second best team in the league at protecting the football at home.
They haven't played us yet.
Let's see if we can get that cranked up. Now, they struggle on the road at 1.4, obviously. So as far as away, how bad are the Packers at giving the ball away? They're actually pretty damn good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. 7th best in the league at only giving the ball away 0.8 giveaways per game on the road. I got to see what their number is at home. At home, let's just sort it by worst. Yeah, this is the problem with the turnovers, Tim. I really think there is something to this, man. We may have uncovered part of the problem is like they're stressing too much at home, because Green Bay is giving the ball away 4th most in the league. They're giving 2 giveaways as far as turnovers go at home this year. That's really interesting. It just kind of feels like they're trying to do too damn much, man. Maybe trying to get too cute and trying to, they're getting away from playing situationally sound. And maybe they're more aware, they're more in tune with what the game plan is on the road because there's a smaller margin for error, which really, when you think about it, it's pretty reflective of a young football team,
It's true. And I can see how a younger team gets overly confident and overly comfortable at home and thinks, hey, we're at home. We got our fans. We got our cute uniforms on this week. We look great. We feel awesome. And then we forget about executing out there on the field and protecting the football. So I don't know. We got a couple road games coming up. So let's see what happens. I'm looking forward to getting these dubs.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's look at penalties. Penalties have been a big talk, right? And I'm going to see, let's just go to Let's go to penalties per game, and then we'll try to go to penalty yards per game. Okay, so in 2024, the least penalized team is Cincinnati, Arizona, Kansas City. Surprise, surprise, right? Let's see where the Green Bay Packers are. They are 25th. So they're averaging 7.3 penalties per game. All right. And let's see how it looks at home. I think that's, let's see, which one is it here? Yeah, at home, they're actually being penalized more than on the road. 7.4 at home, 7.3 on the road. Really, really interesting there. And when you look to Chicago, they are actually 14th in the league, 6.2 penalties, and they're being penalized more at home at 6.8, I think it was.
Awesome.
So maybe
break out the sugar. Let's break out the sugar. Let's trigger those false starts on Sunday.
Maybe that'll balance out this week for sure. Let's go back. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. I don't really care about that. Penalty yards per penalty. No. Offensive penalties per penalty. Just trying to see here. Opponent penalties per play. Nah, nothing really there I want to see. I was trying to see if they broke it down by like calls, like holding, whatever. See if we could kind of zero in on what the problem is, but nothing really there. So hopefully that gives you guys and gals a little bit better idea of where the Packers rank statistically as a team. And again, there's plenty of stuff to clean up. The main thing, you gotta clean up the turnovers. As far as defense goes, the turnovers have really, really, bailed you out a lot this year. You got to keep that going or improve that yards per play on defense, or at least points per play, I should say. So got to, and again, that points per play number is going to be inflated a little bit with turning the ball over on your side of the football or on your side of the field. But the pick sixes don't even come into play there. That doesn't count toward your defense on these statistics. So you throw those into the mix. Tim, I got to be real, man. We're sitting at 6-3, and with how bad things have been between penalties and turnovers, we could very well be a 3-win team right now.
I was just going to say we could easily be 3-6 right now.
That's a testimony to me. It's a testimony to Matt LaFleur and him being able to coach around some of these major problems to pull out some dubs when they probably should have been losses, man. I know there's at least two that we talked about where they lost the turnover differential and the middle eight. We were like, how the hell did they win this ball game? So that's two wins that could have very well been losses. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I agree.
All right. So I'm glad we got to hit on all that. I think it's important to kind of keep your finger on the pulse with that. Let's go to the chat. Nate Dogg in the house says, after the Lions game yesterday, I feel like we can beat them. I completely agree. Nate, that's what was so frustrating about the game last week is you, even with the pick six, you had an opportunity to win the ball game. Like if you remove that pick six and, again, I didn't come away from that Lions game going, oh, we'll never beat them. I came away going, damn it, we let them get away with one.
Yep. We beat ourselves for sure.
Yep. No doubt, man. So we'll look forward to that matchup, that rematch coming back up. Prince in the chat, Lloyd will have a 21-day window to practice and not be counted against a 53, and he needs reps. I know many people are holding out hope, like, will we see Marshawn Lloyd this week? Maybe we will. I highly doubt it. I think you're going to want to see him at practice for a week or two and then try to, bring him out. Because he was activated. The practice window actually opened last week. So they got to see some practice, didn't they, Tim? Am I thinking right?
I think he practiced late last week. Mm-hmm. I think so. For sure he'll be practicing today and this week. So we'll see. I mean, I'm with you, Clay. I don't think we're going to see him against the Bears, but we could see him at home against the Niners if everything goes according to plan with him, I guess.
Yeah. And here's the reality. Maybe it's too cold. Maybe I'm wrong for this, and we can all agree to disagree. If he comes off this IR and that first game he gets banged up, you really got to step back and go, okay. Because, I mean, you're talking about he was recovering from an injury and then he hurts his ankle and he has to go on IR. So it's like two different injuries. If we get a third, you got to really step. That's a real thing. That's a real thing. There are some players that they physically whether it's the reckless play style or it's, their body just can't hold up. I've got a lot of faith in Marshawn Lloyd, man. Daniel Jeremiah said he was the best running back in the draft. So if we can get beyond these injury things, these injury issues, I mean, we might have us a stud there. But again, he comes out and gets banged up again, you throw him on IR for the rest of the year, reevaluate, have your coaching or your trainers look at him and go, okay, what can we do to prevent this next year? Is it possible, right? Because it does seem like it's an early issue there. I mean, we got it straightened out with Christian Watson. Many people aren't talking about that. Christian Watson injuries pretty much a thing of the past, He seemed to have really spent some extra time in the offseason down there. I think, what did he go to Madison, University of Wisconsin Medical at Madison? And got some stuff looked at. So,
They committed to that because that was the biggest knock, because when Scoot's healthy, he's definitely an X factor on offense. It's just, staying on the field. And so far, I think what did he miss? One game this year?
Yeah.
I don't even think he missed a game. Did he miss a game?
I'm not sure.
I don't think he did, because he had that, the infamous high ankle issue or whatever that was. And he bounced back and played that following week. So, shout out to Christian Watson, man, figuring it out. But you're right, man, especially with a running back, you look at Lloyd, anything hip, hamstring, lower body, leg early in your career, that's a major, major red flag. So we got to get that shored up going forward. Make sure he's healthy.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt about it. I see the Lions fans don't y'all have an own podcast to tune into?
No, that's okay. We appreciate the views and the support.
Cracks me up, man. It's like, anyway. Oh man, I can't wait to play them again. God, I can't wait. And I know deep down inside they're going, I'm not feeling real comfortable about that. You shouldn't. I can't wait. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Turn the ball over 5 times to us, buddy. You're getting damn boat raced. I promise you that. That's going to happen. All right, let's see. One last one here. John in the chat says Packers' problem is they have a horrible wide receiver core. Tim, you marked this one. You got the floor here.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight a comment that is probably the one that I have disagreed with the most out of ever being on this show. A horrible wide receiver core. Do you watch the Green Bay Packers, John? I'm just wondering, which team are you watching? Because I don't know if horrible is the correct adjective to describe this receiver core. I don't know about you, Clay, but I definitely don't think the Packers have a horrible wide receiver core.
No, I don't. And this is the part where I say we can agree to disagree. You've got
receiving. It's tough.
you've got a receiving core that going into the season, many of the national pundits were talking about this is arguably the best wide receiver core in the league. Jaden Reed is an absolute dog. I mean, through the first 3-4 weeks of the season, he was leading the league in receiving yards, right? He was in the top 3, I think it was. Are they a great wide receiver core? I don't think they're great yet, but they're all young. We know that. We knew it was going to take time to kind of grow into that. You've got everybody. You're starting to establish what each player is good at. You're continuing to build off of that. Tay Wicks has taken a huge step back. There's no two ways about that. Same as Devontae Adams did. Great route runner, had drop issues early. He cleans that up. He's creating just as much, if not more, separation than anyone else in the league. So, I think they've got a lot of upside with this wide receiver core. I really do. Like Romeo Doubs is your quintessential boundary X. He's got the best hands on the team. Jaden Reed is your guy that's going to run those climbs, those choice routes, play your flyer from the most part. Now you've mixed in Bo Melton into flyer. You also had Romeo Doubs play a little flyer a couple weeks ago, so you're seeing guys' roles be expanded. Christian Watson played flyer his rookie year. That's why you've seen him more on the jet sweeps, things like that. I got to respectfully disagree. I don't think I try not to laugh, but I don't think we have a horrible wide receiver room. I don't. I'm excited to see him prove me right there for sure.
I agree.
All right. Anything else you want to hit on here, Tim?
As long as we're at – there you go, Donovan Schilling.
Getting fired today? Yeah. I'll tell you this. I think it was Dov Kleiman, ML Football just tweeted out a video. I'd love to play it on the air, but I don't want to get hit with a copyright. But this is what the tweet said. It said, Bears coach Matt Eberflus's phone was not working during his interview this morning. And at the Capman, I guess was the host of the show, said, quote, Coach, your cell phone is as bad as your offense right now. Live on the air. So they are really, really, really pushing to get that dude fired. No doubt about that. So
I'd like to fire some of these Lions fans from our chat. That's what I'd like to do.
yeah, I'm actually. It's funny you say that. I'm taking care of that right now. Tim, parting thoughts, sir.
Parting thoughts. Detroit, your fan base is garbage. Let's see. You guys have been relevant for barely 2 seasons. I can remember your stadiums being nearly empty for the better part of 3 decades.
How many championships they got, Tim?
0, and you have won nothing yet. You want to sit at the big kids table and talk that talk. You got to win something first, okay? You can count the championships up here in the corner, all right? So when you guys win something besides a division title, they win one division title in a million years, and suddenly the rest of the league is trash. Detroit, I'm sorry, man. You guys talk the talk, and yeah, you're walking the walk now, but you got to get over the hump before you talk the trash to the champions.
It's just going to be so lovely to keep these receipts. I love hashtag remember this tweet, so I can just go search hashtag remember this tweet. I think I'm the only person on earth that does it, and it pulls up all these tweets where people were running that mouth. Yep. And when they get eliminated this year, I am going to laugh my ass off. It's going to be so joyous. So yeah, there you go.
Especially if we're the ones to do it. That'll be the icing on the cake.
What Coach Lynn said here, the Lions peaked too early. I think that's a real thing too, man.
Yep.
Really, really love it. So that's a real thing that teams, you hit that peak and then you head into the playoffs and get your ass kicked. And next thing you know, you're looking up going, how did that happen? I think back to when the Packers won the Super Bowl. Boy, wouldn't that be awesome, John? The Packers go in there and knock the Lions out of the
John comes back with a tweet with a comment I can agree with right here. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of those things, too, like with the Packers when they won back in 2010, no one expected them to go on that run. Yep. And that's the perfect example of what Coach Lim was talking about, peaking at the right time. You got this momentum, and other teams are kind of playing from behind, trying to figure out what you're doing week to week, and you're constantly just ahead of the curve. That's a real thing, no doubt about it. So, all right. Anything else, Tim? Anything else, man?
No,
I think we did pretty good.
I'm done with my rant on these fair weather Lions fans. I'm good.
It's funny how they came out of the woodwork, man.
Sure is. And it's funny because if you look back to the dark ages of the Packers, we had a sold-out Lambeau Field that entire time. Nobody ever left the fan base, even when we struggled. So, Detroit, step it up a little bit. I mean, I don't expect a lot of class from you guys. I've had some interesting experiences with Lions fans, and we'll just leave it at that. See you guys in the playoffs.
Yeah, and the other thing that's funny to me too is Eminem. That dude, all of a sudden, he's at every Lions game. I've watched the Packers since 2003, and I have never once seen Eminem at a Lions game. They put together a couple winning seasons. That dude he's a diehard Lions fan all of a sudden.
Yeah, you see that? And then, man, they sold out Ford Field for the first time in like 100,000 years or whatever it was, and everyone got excited. Yeah, it's like, man, everyone becomes a fan when you win a couple of ball games.
That's all it takes, man. All it takes. Win a couple games, and I've been here the whole time. So, all right, that's it, guys. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We'll be back tonight. We're going to do Chalk Talk, first half plays of the year. And we're going to go through and hit all of those. I think we've got, let's see here. We've got 20. We came down with 24, and we had to narrow it down to, I think, 16 offensive plays. So we'll hit that tonight. I'm going to spend the afternoon cutting up the defensive plays of the year, and we will hit those tomorrow night for Chalk Talk. And then, bang, we are on to the Bears. Will start preparing, looking at their tendencies, all that good stuff. See what they do well, what they do not so well, and see if we can go down there and get a dub in Chicago. So appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Help me out here, Tim.
For those of you listening on the pod,
thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Don't be like these Lions fans. They're going to get upset. I'm telling you, they're going to get hurt. It's coming right around the corner. Go Pack, go.